too many people in Washington think it's really 1991, and it's not. The armed forces that existed in 1991 really don't exist anymore. We have very little depth. In baseball terms, we have a weak bench. We can't recruit for the United States Army. Frankly speaking, we're having trouble recruiting for everybody but the Air Force. And everybody else, frankly, is not getting the people that they want. So that's problem number one. We are not what we were militarily in 91. Number two, we're structured in theory to fight one major war and support one lesser contingency. The truth is we're not even structured for one major war. We've dismantled most of our capability to fight over the last 20 years through these pointless wars of occupation that did us no good. So what exactly should we be interested in doing? Well, historically, when presidents looked at the region and they looked at the potential for conflict, they were interested in two things. First of all, can we negotiate an end to the ongoing conflict and still have an Israel that is robust and strong? And if we can't do that, well, then we're in a lot of trouble. Well, guess what? We're in a lot of trouble right now. The Israelis have mobilized a force that's larger than the United States Army, but they're facing a very different set of threats today, different technologies, different weapons. The region is not what it was 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. The region is armed to the teeth. And everyone in the region is watching the film footage coming out of Gaza, showing children that are being wounded, children that are being dug out from the rubble, watching the refugee flow. No one in the region is going to sit still and watch the Israelis pulverize Gaza and drive the population out into the desert. Right. It's not going to happen. So if it's not going to happen, we need to step up and stop it, because it's our obligation to save Israel from itself. Right now, they are on the path to suicide in that region. The Turks will come into this war, and the Turkish armies are large and powerful. They can field 2 million men in a month.
Whoa.
We're not even talking about Iran. Iran has already stood up militias all over Iraq, Syria, and in southern Lebanon. Those militias are deadly. We're talking about Hezbollah has 100,000 men. Hezbollah has at least 130,000 rockets, of which 40 to 50,000 are very precise and extremely lethal. The damage they can do is damage that will take decades to repair. We don't want it. And what they've all said is if the Israelis refrain from invading Gaza, quote unquote, to finish off Hamas, well, then they won't go to a war footing. We don't want a war, and we need to come to terms with the reality. Assigning the Israeli Defense Force the mission of cleaning out Gaza and finding all of the Hamas fighters is mission impossible. Dan, we couldn't do it very well. They can't do it either. It's best to negotiate an end to this thing, solve the problem. Military power is not the answer.